Welcome to Framing for God. I'm so excited about this particular episode with Chantelle Anderson. We all may know Chantelle. Chantelle is known for putting her confidence in God, using her gifts and talents to help coach other women to be their best and have the best life possible. Let's get to know Chantelle together as we watch this clip and continue our interview.
Wow, that video was phenomenal, Chantelle.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. It's so evident that you are a woman of excellence, all of your achievements. I'm blown away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be awesome.
Thank you for your willingness to be here and to just spend some time and answer some questions for us as we learn about you, your faith, your walk.
Of course.
And I couldn't do this by myself, so of course I had to have a great friend, Johnathan Franklin, here to help me, because this is such a big deal to have you on the show.
Of course, and I'm excited to have Johnathan here. Yay!
So excited to be a part of Framing for God. Can't wait to do this with you and just learn more about you, Chantelle.
Thank you.
And you two know each other.
Yeah!
It's okay, you don't have to claim me right now. Let's go with the camera.
Yeah!
But yeah, I was able to come out for your birthday, our
I know!
birthday party, and
at Dave & Buster's,
yeah, absolutely.
and it was amazing.
It's so fascinating, you're so humble, but there's some things that I learned about you that really just impressed me, right? Some things like, you know, you were the West Coast Gatorade Player of the Year. You're a 3-time college All-American and drafted 2nd overall in the WNBA.
Oh, thank you. You know, I actually hated basketball when I first started playing, but my dad made me continue to play. Obviously, at the end of it, I was like, thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. But yeah, I was fortunate to find what I love to do and find my God-given talent early.
When did God start playing a role in just this journey that you've had of success?
That's an interesting question. You know, I was raised in a religious family. I was raised in the church. So very early on, I had a knowledge of God. So as I was coming up, I realized, okay, all my talents are from Him and everything is from Him. But I didn't really feel like I had a relationship with Him. So I would say He always played a role, but I wouldn't have really felt part of it.
When did that change?
You know, I really started paying attention to God at a point in my life where I had filled my life with so many things, you know, as I was an athlete and you kind of living the life and enjoying it so much. At some point, God was like, yeah, I need to get her attention. As an athlete, my body was everything and I started just having injury after injury after injury. And so I broke my kneecap and then I rehabbed for 7 long months, came all the way back, and then I tore my Achilles. And that is when it was my wake-up call. And I was like, okay, I am not in control. I did everything I know to do that was right. I was in the best shape of my life. I had worked as hard as I possibly could. I was playing on the best team overseas. And here I am in this hospital bed in Turkey, crippled and depressed and just in terrible shape. obviously I'm not in control. And if I'm not in control, I need to follow the one who is. And it was like someone had just taken the blanket off my head, and I just realized that in this hospital room. And so in that point, I had my first conversation with God in a very, very long time. At the end of that conversation, I said, okay, God, I'm gonna do life your way. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but that was kind of the beginning of my journey.
During that journey, you talk about of taking a blanket off. Was there any barriers, for you to really seek God? Because you talk about being at this high point of your life. I mean, you want to go with my medals. You had a TEDx. You've done amazing things, and I'm sure internally you had some pride as well. Even at the bottom of where you fell to I'm going to do this on my own. So just talk about those barriers that came upon your life when you wanted to seek God even still.
Man, that is such a great question. There was a lot of barriers. I had a lot in my life that I had to get rid of, right? It was interesting. I said, okay, God, I'm going to do life your way, but I didn't really know what that was. I started reading the Bible, and I was like, okay, God, I don't really believe the Bible's true, but you are somewhere in there, and so I'm going to read it. And whatever I feel convicted of, I'm going to do or stop doing. Right? And so in that process, God started convicting me of different things. The first thing he convicted me of was my relationships. So at that time, I was basically dating whoever I wanted, mostly women, but I would date women and men at the same time. And he convicted me of that right away and was like, nah, bruh, you gotta get that up. I was like, wait, what? Drinking, getting drunk, smoking weed, part of the party scene, just everything in my life. He just started taking it out. It was hard. And I remember several conversations with God after that first one in the hospital room. It was just like, I can't do this. But every time I went back to, but help me, because I know my way doesn't work. I think God had to humble me so much, because I'm not a humble person. I'm prideful. And God had to break me to the point where I knew that his way was the only option.
Can you talk more exactly, define convictions, for those that may not understand what that means or what that looks like? When you are convicted, what do you feel like? What are you thinking? What is that moment? Describe that for us.
That is such a good question. Come on. That moment of conviction, I love that the Bible is very clear about who God is, right? And it says that God is the God of peace. And so whenever we don't feel peace, God is not there. Or God is not co-signing whatever there is, or whatever's happening. And so I kind of instinctively knew that. I don't know how, but just whenever I would read the Bible and my spirit felt uneasy about doing something, or specifically with my relationships, he used a conversation with actually one of my exes, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I just felt uncomfortable about continuing to do what I was doing. And I just knew, I was like, okay, God, I hear what you're trying to tell me to do. I'm gonna be miserable. I'm gonna hate my life. And when that happens, it's gonna be your fault. But I hear you. I see what you're telling me to do. I appreciate some help. So I would just say it's that uneasy feeling of I'm reading the word and something is taking my peace.
Another word for faith is confidence. And so we have here your amazing book, Visible Confidence. And so I want to learn how did this journey with confidence start, the inspiration behind the book? I know it's helped so many women. It's helped me
Thank you.
with some practicals on how to become just a little bit more confident.
Thank you so much. The journey actually was kind of funny how it started. I was sharing on Facebook that I used to be very insecure, very shy. And a woman named Kay wrote me a message, and she said, okay, you said you used to be shy. You're obviously not anymore. So how did you get over that? I was like, that's a good question. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. So I ended up writing 7 things that I did to be more confident. It ended up being 2 pages. So I was like, hey, I know you don't know me, but can I just call you and can we go over this? And she's like, sure. So we call, and we're on the phone for literally 2 hours talking through this list. And I was just telling her everything, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna try this. And then 2 weeks later, she comes back to me. She's like, oh my gosh, this helped me so much. And I was like, really? And so it was really cool to know that something that I had been through and I had done in my life helped other people. And so at that point, I decided to just expand on those 7 sections and just pour even more of what I knew into it and make the book so that I can hopefully help more people just be confident.
Thank you so much. And we could be here interviewing you all day. But we have a special panel who have their own questions that they would love to ask you.
Well, welcome to our show, Chantelle.
Thank you.
We were so inspired to have you here. We've watched your video, we listened to your interview, we've looked through your book. You are an amazing woman of God.
Thank you.
And we're so excited to learn from you today. We are a faith-based talk show, and we love to have guests come on our show just to inspire us on how God has given them talents and how they've used their talents and used their faith to glorify God. So Casey will ask our first question.
Awesome.
Yeah, I do have a question for you. I was reading through your book. It's great, by the way.
Thank you.
But I noticed you had a quote from Marianne Rombacher, and it said, "Courage isn't always a roar. It's sometimes a quiet voice at the end of the day that says, I'll try again tomorrow."
Yes.
And that's such an amazing quote. It really encompasses what I've been learning about security and confidence in God. I've been studying it out in the Bible, and I've learned a lot of things from it, but I was wondering if you had any practicals for us, just what that thought process for you really looks like.
Yes, absolutely. So that is one of my favorite quotes, by the way. And confidence is all about the conversation that we choose to have with ourselves. Sometimes we can mess up, we can do something wrong, and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible. And if we stay in that thought process, then we're never going to be confident. For me, I have to choose to have that argument with myself to say, no, you're not terrible, you just made a mistake. What you are is this, and you're just learning, you are good at this, you're this. And to just change the narrative from the negative to the positive.
Well, I have a question for you. I love that we're talking about confidence because that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. And I was thinking, why do women, what's one reasons we struggle with confidence? And it can be like a new change in life when you're going through something unfamiliar. And I can relate to that. Recently I broke up with my fiance and it was really hard. And through that I was really struggling with confidence in myself, confidence in love, confidence in God really. What advice would you give us to find that confidence again?
Yeah, when it comes down to change forces us to deal with our identity. Right? If we lose a job or a relationship or something in our looks, it can kind of shake our identity. And that happened to me when I was done playing basketball. I lost my career and I'm like, oh my gosh, who am I? What do I have to offer the world? And what I realized is all my identity was in what I did instead of who I was and who God said I was. And so for us women, change is really a chance for us to take our identity out of what it really shouldn't have been in the first place and really work to put it where it should be, which is in God. When I'm feeling like that, I always study out what God says about me because if God says I'm amazing and God says He made me on purpose and that I am exactly the way that He wants me to be, then who cares who I have or what I do or what I look like or any of that stuff.
Well, this has been so fun, Chantelle. I think it's just sitting here listening to you, I just feel more confident already. And I just, hearing about your career in basketball, it made me think about my life as a dancer. So I grew up dancing. Since the age of 3, my parents put me in class and I did ballet.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. It was truly fun. It was my life. I dedicated my time and my weekends and competing and money. It was everything that I did.
Yeah.
And then I turned 18 and I moved away to college and I felt kind of free.
Yeah.
I felt free to do what I wanted to do, and I found myself not dancing anymore. I found myself year after year not taking any classes. And 10 years down the line, I'm where I'm at now, and I kind of think, what would my life look like if I continued dancing, and if I continued that ambition that my parents instilled in me, where would I be? And I'm inspired by your life because I think you growing up being a basketball player and then moving on and using your talents in other ways has really glorified God so much, and it's inspired me to possibly pick up a few dance classes. And just overcome the fears that I have of starting to dance again.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. One of my favorite quotes is by Chris Klopek. He says that God gave us our talents to get people's attention so that we could tell them about Jesus. And one thing I love is, for me, I had my basketball talent. I didn't use that for God at all. And so when I became a disciple, I was like, wow, God, I am so sorry, but if you give me any kind of platform, if you show me what else I can be good at, I promise I will use it for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
we love listening to you. You are such a great friend. And usually we have a gift for our guest speaker, but today we have a sweet treat from our Tasho's Cafe called Beautiful People Cafe. And we know you are currently on keto, and so we have a keto treat for you.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it.